Alright, I had a request on how the turret works. The carousel, this thing up here holds all the pins. It's got a cage around it. Once the pins are in there, you really can't pull them out. Down below, if you can see it, right down in here, there's a plastic. This is like tells it where to stop. So it'll follow along here a wheel, and it tells it when to spin. So that's how they time it, from what I understand. This little caster wheel follows that. I'll see if I can find it for you. It's on the back side. I can't get to it from here. So these are all numbered on the top. I don't know if you can see those or not. There's number 2. There's number 4 to the left. They're stamped right there, and there's a number 2. So as the pin comes up and the pin gate goes through, drops and lowers, it stops when that wheel is not in place. Alright, this is the clutching mechanism. So when the pin comes off the conveyor, it's going to smack this thing, and that's what allows it to spin. As it's following those grooves with that wheel, which this is a hard angle to see, it allows those to spin around and tells it to stop. This is the pin gate that works in conjunction right there. It stops the pins, lets the pins go. This macro switch here is on 2 rollers, which is on the back side, so when the pins come up along here and hit those and rise up, when they both come up, it sends a signal back here to the clutch. It spins the big wheel with the pins come up, the pin wheel, tells it to stop. That way they don't load up here on the conveyor. There's a turnaround pin there in the back. These little spoons hold the pins in place. So when it comes back around and it's full, it won't drop on a deck, and then you have double sets of pins. I'll see if I can get an example of that while it's loading up. And then the last one goes, they all drop. I should have pointed out, there's 2 flags, they call them flags, those bent piece of metal behind that pulley, which are right here. They call those flags. When those are down and the deck's up or down, those will drop, and it doesn't allow the pins to land on the other pins, if that makes sense. Alright, this is a flag right here. Works with the Geneva pulley and the deck. Somehow it sends a signal over here and keeps this mechanism, when the last pin goes down the chute, from popping out. When this pops out, these fingers all drop down the spoons. All this stuff works in conjunction with each other, so if something's not right, it's not going to work properly. I call these the garage door cables. Alright, for those who don't know, this whole deck moves. You have the scissors in here, which are these. They actually close, pick the pins up, and then they retract back with this cables to keep it open, so when it drops new pins. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to start posting more now that it's warmed up. I get these machines set up. I know there were some issues brought up in the past about how slow the rake goes down. I'm learning this stuff as I go along. I'm not a professional. I've never worked on these machines before or moved them. If you haven't watched my other videos, I took 2 bowling machines out of a center and put them in my garage. Kind of a crazy idea. I've had a guy ask questions about the turret, how that works. These spoons here hold the pins in, and there's a track here at the bottom that a roller rolls across, so it tells this device, this turret, where to stop precisely. They got a little rusty over the winter time. I got some lubricating and oiling to do. I just follow the steps in the book, but they're very time consuming. It takes a lot of time to tear these apart and put them back together. It's all precision machining. There's no computer just to tell it what to do. It's all mechanical. Just think of a really huge typewriter. Another issue I got to do is this cycle button does not work. It worked at the center. For some reason it's not working now. I have to reset that. And another friend gave me a when the pins I forget what they call that. It's to reset it when the pin gets off its point and the machine comes down. It'll shut off so it doesn't compress the pin. But there's an override for that keeps that. I can't think of the name right now. I have a delete for the outer range. I was given one by a friend who works at a center. I'm going to put that on there. Eventually, I got to adjust the curtain a little bit, somewhere it's binding up, not allowing that rake to come down faster. I was just pretty excited just getting one machine to work. I didn't really cycle much in the center. I didn't know about them. Everybody doesn't know what this device is. This is the turnaround pan. So when the pins come in there, they're going to hit this and they'll make sure they're butt first going down the conveyor belt. There's some scabby welding. I did not do that. Alright, this is your cycle button, on and off, and then you can override the desk with this switch. We don't have a desk because it's in the garage, and I don't have those wires anyhow to do that. They're still at the bowling center. This is a 1 horsepower motor that runs the whole entire pin setter. This is the conveyor belt that drops into the turret. This is the power box where all the happy communication goes on. This is the gearbox itself. That box with the wire coming out of it is the cycle solenoid. Alright, this is the turret spider latch that I was talking about earlier. I didn't have the vocabulary word done right, but and then this is the flag that I was pointing to. It works in conjunction with the moving deck cam follower, so this little guy here controls this flag. So if this flag's down, it's not going to drop pins. If this flag is up, it's saying, okay, go ahead and drop that pin and load the deck. And this one here, I believe, is the right hand blocking finger, which tells the machine if the deck's up or down setting pins. Here's those notches I was telling you about, and then this follower, it goes through there. Alright, on this, I gotta go back through and do some adjustments back in this area. I think there's something's binding up, or the curtain's not sitting under the pit cushion. But the rake follows this little guy right here, the rake lift cam. So this little roller goes around as this thing spins this way, and it pretty much drives and tells what this rake to do here in the front as it follows that cam, goes all the way around it. But there are so many adjustments. You got the rake cam follower, which I was talking about, the little roller, rake trip shaft, which I've adjusted that, and you go back to it, and then you get up into all this happy stuff up here. So if any of this stuff's off just a little bit, it's going to throw your whole machine off. Alright, this assembly up here on top, this is called the detector assembly, I'm pretty sure. That is your robot. I guess that's the brain of the machine. It works in conjunction with this detector rod, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I broke the first one already. It's back here, and you can't see it with the fence on. Actually, it's right, look through there, it's that rod. It focuses. There's a bunch of discs inside there. These wheels spin around, and it tells the machine what to do. Lets it know whether there's a strike, spare. If that mechanism, which mine on either one or not, because I didn't take them off the gearbox, will throw everything off. And there's a timing slot that you got to make sure. So there are timed parts on there. Yeah, detector timing at 0. So you'll stick like a roll pin through here. I don't have to do any of that because I never took these completely apart, but a lot of times it centers when the machines wear out, they tear them all down and rebuild every piece. Or a detector goes bad and they redo it. Alright, this is that roller that was following that plastic grooves. It tells the turret where to stop. Or I shouldn't say tells it where to stop. It runs that wheel when it spins around and moves the gate up and down. It stops your pins. And then when these rollers are up in the air, that shuts a clutch off to the pinwheel, so it's not sending a bunch of pins up the conveyor and they get all jammed up. Alright, that's the indexing trip lever. I call it the clutch. And then your interlock finger so it doesn't drop the pin. There's another picture of that flag I was telling you that lifts that locking finger, and that's the interlock probe. So when that pin hits that, it decides whether or not to dump it or not, if that flag's up or down. So in order for to dump pins, the flag's going to be up. I know I showed them some before. There's the rest of the pins in the boxes ready to go in the machines once I get these things working. Lane 1 is 90% done. Just a few minor adjustments that I've got to gauge myself. And I got to get all this cleaned up back here. Lane number 2, I tried my best to keep, I didn't have a pier. That's those wooden stands that these sit on for the outside. I explained that in the videos before. You'll have to watch those. So I had to make one. So this machine is not square to the other one, so it's never going to set pins from what I told on the spots correctly, but that's okay. I'm not setting up a professional. We're not having the bowling leagues here or anything like that, any tours, but once I get this machine online, I'll be super happy. I mean, it's working, just needs adjusted. And if I had to do it over again, I would have probably cycled the machines a couple times inside the center just to see how they worked. When I got over there, they're in the process of taking the gutters up, and all the pins have been taken out of all the machines. There's a little bit of rust from sitting there in the garage over the winter time, but That'll clean up. Most of the parts have paint on them, so I mean, these machines were pretty beat up and well used. But there was no pins in them, so if there's no pins in your machine, it's going to cycle and then it'll sit for the 180 waiting for pins. But I wish I would have done that a couple times just to understand how the machines worked. Thank all my new subscribers. I'm going to start something too. I've noticed I get a lot of questions about certain things, how they work. I try to explain them the best I can. I'm probably not the best person to do that. I kind of look at something and try to figure it out. It might take me a while to get it, but these are the piers that the machine set on, these wooden things, and they share them. If I just use one machine, then I wouldn't have to worry. I can have parts, but I'm going to try to keep both of them going as long as I can. The parts are getting hard to get a hold of.